upholding the country that resulted in the victory of President Nicolas Maduro. Ever since as well, the country has been focusing on defending its sovereignty in the face of these aforementioned misinformation campaigns. Let's listen.
And my thanks to all of you, the over 100 jurists of the whole planet and Venezuelan as well, men and women, that have been representing 35 countries and have given a meeting here in the beautiful city of Caracas, the city of peace, but also the city of bravery and rebelliousness without limits. We have reunited here to study, reflect about one of the worst aggressions that has been lived by the region of the Caribbean in the last 100 years through the use of lies and excuses. They have given to the task of the flagrant violation of the UN Charter, especially in its Article number 2, and also they have violated in a brutal way that wonderful declaration that happened on January 29th of 2014 when the Select declared the region as a zone of peace, Latin America and the Caribbean as a peace zone. So in the reason of not only thinking or reflecting on this idea, but also denouncing the great crimes that have been committed against the international law, against the right to peace, against the people, and against the sovereignty and the independence of the peoples of Latin America. We have been 2 days with many talks that have been deep of the different representatives and study people of law at the international level and at the national level as well. And in the conclusions of this wonderful meeting, we generated a group of proposals that I will expose to you here. Two who had the wonderful initiative of calling for this Council for the Peace and Sovereignty, which was President Nicolas Maduro, who suggested to the National Assembly of the Republic of Venezuela to install a council that englobed us, all of us, beyond and without any distinction of political ideologies, religious ideologies, or ways of seeing the world. Those proposals signal this next thing, dear President and guests here, to condemn categorically all ways of interference or coercion unilaterally or aggression that vulnerate the sovereignty and the self-determination of our people. Second, to demand the respect of international law and the bilateral and multilateral treaties and the UN charters as an only way to the peaceful resolution of controversies. And third, to call to the community of jurists of our countries and all of those who are part of the UN. I am a psychiatrist, not a jurist, to vigilate and denounce in the instances that correspond to violations to international law that put in danger the stability of the Great Caribbean and the world. Fourth, to express our concern and rejection facing the recent executions, extrajudicial executions, homicides, let's call it by its name, true homicides and extrajudicial executions out of the mark of the law that have happened in the Caribbean Sea by the unilateral action of the armed forces of the United States of America that turns out in all sense and hards a violation of human rights and of international law. Fifth, to call to the government of the U.S. to cease its military operations in the Caribbean Sea and the threats against the region of Latin America. And I believe we could change the verb from call to demand, because it is necessary for the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean to demand the fulfilling of international law, insist to conform a very wide league of jurists of international law with the finality of evaluating the necessary media to present formally a denounce in the face of international organizations because of the threats and use of the force by the part of the United States of the Americas and the Caribbean, and also to reactivate with force the multilateralism in the region because of the threats in the Caribbean on the part of the United States of America, just like the community of the states of the Caribbean and the Latin America as part of the proclamation of the area as a zone of peace, and aims to call the governments of the world to assume a position clear of condemnation in the face of international law and the escalation and the violence in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the region, because they also say the UN says that the parts in conflict to cease the tensions, but we are here very tranquil. We are the victims. We're the ones who've been attacked, and those crazy people are the ones that have had the brutal actions in the Caribbean Sea, like they talk in Gaza. It's a war. It was not a war. It was a genocide. This is my comment on the conclusions. Ninth, to organize activities in sensibilization and public debates on the great threats that are over the Caribbean, and 10 to ratify that the lasting peace will only be constructed over basis of social justice, equity, and respect to the human rights and international law. These 10 proposals close President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro Moros. They are the force of the conversations and the discussions that we have had in these 2 days, and we make a commitment to make them effectively and apply the recommendations that are coming from this international meeting of jurists for peace that we give to the President Maduro as a proponent of the Council of Peace, the conclusions of this Congress.